The significance of this legacy. Like probably around 15, I want to say 15, when it really set in, like when my grandma sat me down, talked to me like he told her he was going to get big. She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side. Biggie's son CJ Wallace just cracked open a whole can of drama, and it's getting real messy. Word on the street is CJ's been hinting that his own mother Faith Evans might have played a shady role in Biggie's downfall, and that Diddy could have been behind the scenes pulling strings. Now CJ usually stays quiet, but folks close to him are saying he's never bought into the official story about how Biggie died. Now CJ's been side-eyeing the people Biggie had around him. Even the ones in his own house. Sources say CJ believes Big was surrounded by fake smiles, fake love, and maybe even betrayal right under his roof. But hold up, it gets wilder. Have such a history with Diddy, who's being honored. What is a moment that you look back on him in the past and you like, man, if you could have told us then we'd be at business party. He was going to be honored. Like we would have been shook. Remember when Faith Evans randomly married Stevie J back in 2018? Yeah, that blindside had CJ shook. He didn't even get a heads up from his own mother. He found out with the rest of us through social media. Imagine that. And here's where jaws really hit the floor. Stevie J is actually CJ's godfather. Yep, you read that right. So now folks are out here putting the pieces together and wondering what was really going on behind the scenes. Little Big. Little Titty. CJ. Little Titty. Are we just out here doing what we do? Let's not forget Stevie J ain't some side character in this story. He's been tight with Diddy for years. He was one of the masterminds behind that iconic bad boy sound back in the 90s. So now people are asking, was Faith's marriage to Stevie just love, or was there something deeper, something connected to Diddy and the whole tangled web of bad boy drama? This ain't just some random love triangle, this might be a full-blown industry chess game. Whispers about Stevie J being on the down low, that's been floating around for years. And the tea is he was allegedly one of the regulars at Diddy's wild freak-off parties, the kind folks still ain't brave enough to fully talk about. But it doesn't stop there. Stevie wasn't just in Diddy's circle. He was basically living in it. When the feds ran up on Diddy's crib last March, guess who was posted up at one of his houses? Yep, Stevie J. Now let's piece this puzzle together. CJ's out here saying that his mom Faith Evans tied the knot with someone who was deep in Diddy's world. Oh, some blogs were kind of saying some mean things about your son and tried to say that he was gay. How do you feel about that? 'Cause I don't, I think it's rude and just insensitive. These blogs just talk so about it. And do you have any response to that? No, I don't really feel that way about it. We know where he is. If he was, I would support him and love him just the same. So CJ's been saying Biggie was betrayed by people real close to him, like in the same house close. So it's no surprise folks think CJ is dropping clues without calling names directly. But this is only the surface level of the drama. 'Cause here's where things really start twisting. CJ himself has been caught up in speculation about his own sexuality. And some sources, shady as they are hinting that it might have ties to being raised around Diddy and Stevie J. That's the kind of talk that could shake up a whole family. So now people are asking the big questions. Did Diddy push Faith into marrying Stevie just to keep her quiet? Was she pressured? Was she being blackmailed? Or was she quietly playing both sides from the start? Receipts are starting to pop up and they're pointing to CJ Wallace pulling away from his mom lately. How much different Faith life, her whole life looked, career look. Daddy told her he was going to kill. She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side that night. It happened and she was told she has to lie about it. Folks say ever since the stories about Faith possibly knowing more about Biggie's death started creeping back into the spotlight, CJ's been distant, real distant. And that silence, it's got people talking louder than ever. People online are buzzing with claims that Faith Evans was way tighter with Diddy behind closed doors than she ever let on. And some are even saying she knew Biggie's death wasn't just some random tragedy but a straight-up setup. That night in LA, folks are pointing out how Biggie didn't even want to be there. He knew things were hot after Pac's death and the tension in the air was thick. But guess who kept pushing him to go? Diddy. Be honest about Faith Evans. How does a woman with that much talent end up married to somebody like Stevie J, really? Or maybe years ago you decided to be a hip-hop plant cause you didn't think your light-skinned self was ever going to get a real shot. And so you took that shot. You were a single mom and your back was up against the wall. That lie held up until that boy turned 18 and he started having ideas of what he wanted to do, what he inherited. Because the paperwork was set up for Faith to not be able to receive $1 from Biggie's estate unless it was for little Christopher. And she only had one child with Christopher. The other children who required taking care of and feeding and all of that, all of them couldn't be fed off of Christopher Wallace's money. They weren't his kids. See how that works? It didn't make any sense. Her and Biggie. It didn't make any sense to anyone. It shouldn't have made any sense to them because they were married in 10 days. It's funny when you ask Faith how long her and Biggie were together before they got married. The story changes every time. I'm not saying that she didn't develop feelings for him. I'm not saying that she didn't care about the father of her son. I'm saying she was hired for one job. Her being involved with Pac in the midst of all of that, but she didn't know Pac was Pac. I mean, come on. Then it makes sense. What really does make sense is that Diddy has had a long career of using to trap into making them do what he wants to do or using them to move them out the way. How is Faith Evans any different than Lauren London? And here's the wildest twist. Jaguar Wright dropped a bombshell saying Diddy flat out told Faith that Biggie wasn't going to make it that night. That's not just suspicious. That's straight chilling. Now fast forward. Faith ends up connected not only to Diddy but later to Stevie J, another one of Diddy's closest boys. And even now Faith still hasn't said a single word publicly condemning Diddy. Even with all this madness unfolding, put those pieces together and it's giving snake moves. CJ Wallace, Biggie and Faith's son, seems to be keeping his distance too. Fans clock that he hardly posts about Faith anymore. No birthday shout-outs, no throwbacks, just cold surface-level mentions like they're barely speaking. And let's not sleep on Stevie J's part in all this. Jaguar Wright pointed out that Faith and Stevie never really added up as a couple. Same with Faith and Biggie back in the day. She claims Diddy used Faith like a pawn, like she was just a piece in his bigger plan. A plan to get rid of both Pac and Biggie and keep cashing in off the music that came after. If you were watching the scene back then, you probably felt it too. Biggie and Faith always felt off. And now all these rumors are making that weird energy make way more sense. I can hear me. So when I went in and did these two lines and rearranged them, I asked him, Mr. Puff, do you mind if I change it around a little bit? And I did. And I added all my arrangements and harmonies. And when I came out, he asked me did I want to sign his new label just like that. Faith herself admitted in her book that her and Biggie were never really solid. She said they were barely even together. And Big was out here allegedly cheating non-stop. Now that doesn't mean she had a hand in setting him up, but let's be real. It does raise serious eyebrows about her connection to Diddy and how much she may have known about the alleged plan to take out both Biggie and Pac. Let's rewind for a second. In 1993, Faith moved out to LA and started singing backup for R&B singer I'll Be Sure. But it didn't take long before she landed on Diddy's radar. Just one studio session in and boom, Diddy signed her on the spot. No delay, no second guesses. Just like that, she became the first female artist ever signed to Bad Boy Records. Now if you ask some fans, that whole one-session instant contract moment sounds a little too smooth. People been wondering for years what really went down in that studio. What did Diddy see or know that made him move so fast? A Puffy gave your start now. P. Diddy. Well, how do you think of him? P. Diddy. I still call him Puff. You still call him Puff, so he gave you a start and you're still great friends. Yeah. I actually saw him the other night. I stopped by a studio session he was at to tell him that I wanted him to come to my show at the House of Blues next week. So yeah, we keep in touch. He sends my kids Christmas gifts. Then in 1994, just a year after signing to Bad Boy, Faith meets Biggie Smalls at a photo shoot. And what happens next? They get married just weeks later. Not months, weeks. The whole thing moved way too fast. And it's got people asking if that marriage was real love or just part of some bigger plan that we still don't fully understand. While Faith was laying down background vocals and co-writing joints for Mary J. Blige's My Life album and Usher's debut, she was also grinding on her own come-up. By August 1995, she dropped her debut album and it blew up. Tracks like You Used to Love Me and Soon as I Get Home were all over the airwaves and the album went platinum, moving over 1.5 million copies. But by 1996, things in her personal life were spiraling. She and Biggie welcomed their son CJ Wallace, but behind the scenes it was pure chaos. Biggie was running wild, cheating with multiple women including Lil' Kim. And word is Faith wasn't just sitting around heartbroken. Allegedly she clapped back by hooking up with Tupac. That move dragged her straight into the middle of the East Coast versus West Coast war, a beef that turned deadly fast. We all know what happened next. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was gunned down in a drive-by in Las Vegas. 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, Biggie was murdered in LA. A loss that still feels unreal. Two icons gone way too soon and the streets still don't have real answers. After Biggie's death, Faith started talking more openly, especially about Diddy. In an interview with the New York Times, she revealed that Diddy started acting weird and controlling during that time. She said he made her go tanning every other day, which had fans confused and disturbed. Like, what was that even about? Between the shady studio deals, wild relationship twists, and Diddy's strange grip behind the scenes, this whole saga is layered in mystery and folks are starting to look at Faith's rise to fame in a very different light. Faith straight up said that Puff used to personally walk her to the tanning salon every other day just because he thought she was too pale. I don't know whatever someone does in their bedroom, that's what they do. I don't got nothing to do with that. I'm just here to say that I've never seen my man doing anything foul like they talking about. And then it's like with guys like 50, you know what I'm saying, like Uncle Tom cats like that. I just look at it as, he wants to bring the black community down worse than anyone else.